Hi, I'm Chris Collier. Welcome to the Conquer with Chris, the podcast you don't want to miss. Today I have a great guest. Her name's Britney. Britney, welcome to the show.
Hey, Chris. Thanks so much for having me on board. I'm glad to be here.
Pleasure's all mine. So, Britney, let's talk about a little bit about you, where you're from, what you do, some of your interests.
I'm located in West Palm Beach, Florida. Beautiful, sunny, tropical. And I am a course creation coach. So I help women build passive income into their business by creating and launching digital courses.
Wow, that's exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah. It's funny though, because I didn't actually start there. I started off as a virtual assistant, and it was an interesting kind of journey to get to the whole coaching realm. But I don't know when you want to kind of delve into that story.
Well, let's go back. Let's go back. We were talking earlier before we got started. You served the country. Thank you for that again. So if you want to go back that far, if you want to go back further, you can. Tell us how you came up and things like that.
Yeah. I'm a born and bred New Englander. Go Tom Brady. Go the New England Patriots. And I joined the Navy right out of high school. And so I joined the Navy. I went to the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, studied there, got my degree, commissioned as an officer, and then immediately got shipped out to Hawaii.
Rough life.
I know, right? So I got stationed in Hawaii, and while I was out there, I was serving on a ship, and it was cool. It was fun. I felt, badass. I don't know if we can swear on this podcast, but I am. It was an exciting time for me, right out of college, but I ended up actually leaving deployment early. Some stuff went down on the ship, had some issues with the command, and so I got kind of assigned to a public affairs office. And that is truly where I started really enjoying my time in the military, because I wasn't just feeling cool, but I was able to do something that in my skill sets as a writer and as kind of a creative mind in the public affairs community, I had more of the ability to kind of work on that.
Wow, that's good. I want to jump in there for saying, I always say where passion meets purpose, you find your power.
Yes. And that was the first time that I was, right out of college, right from high school to college and then college out. So I didn't have a ton of job experience, but that was really the first job experience I had where I was able to do something that was creative. And coming from a New England family, kind of old school, traditional New England family, I was told that, creative people couldn't make money. And so here I am, like taking photography classes, going out with a DSLR camera, and being a journalist and getting to write and to tell these stories, and to not just to represent the military, but also to connect the military with the Hawaiian culture and kind of just bring the community together a little bit more. And it was just a really fulfilling role. But like anything in the military, things have to end. You have to get reassigned. And so I got reassigned to California, and also, just terrible duty station. But so I got stationed there, and then I decided ultimately to get out of the military. And that was when I kind of pivoted into that entrepreneurial role. The pivot happened because I had the opportunity to intern in a few different places my last year in the military, and I wasn't getting that same vibe that I got when I was in Hawaii doing this kind of creative journalism thing. And
You think?
Yeah, right. Well, yeah. I mean, the Hawaii thing was great.
In paradise, and you come to California, it's still paradise, but not so much.
I'm glad you said that, because it actually, I got a lot of flack for saying that. But I was like, you guys got to remember that I moved here from Hawaii. I mean, I was in paradise with a capital P, and now I'm in paradise with a lower P. But yeah, so I moved, I kind of took around a little bit, and my then boyfriend, now husband, he worked remotely, and that's kind of how I found out that people can work from home online. Nothing in the military, everything in the military is all classified and stuff. So we have to be in secure buildings. Nobody works from home. And I guess the pandemic changed that a little, but that was really the first time that I got to see, a creative kind of online outlet. And I'm like, oh my God, why do I need to go and work some corporate sales job, which is what most naval officers end up doing when they get out, when I could be just creating my own reality and going back to doing the things that I like, which is telling stories and getting out into the world and helping people and bringing different cultures together and things like that. So that's where I started off with my entrepreneurial journey, was with this desire to kind of get back into the creative world, get back into that world of being able to kind of build a reality that truly fit what I was, I think, more capable of, more in alignment with. I guess that makes sense.
What was more purposeful?
Yes. No, and it definitely was. But so as we start getting into the online world, you have to pick a niche. You have to pick a group of people that you want to serve. And for me, the service part was huge. Getting into the entrepreneurial space is never about making money. That was just kind of like an ugly necessity that had to happen because I have a mortgage. But it wasn't about making money. It was about continuing to serve the community the same way that I had served my community in Hawaii. And so I was like, okay, well, who do I pick? And I chose female entrepreneurs because I didn't see a ton of support in the military for women. I know at this point, it's the 21st century, 2021, we're supposed to say women are supporting each other, and that's the popular thing to say. But the fact of the matter is there's still areas where we don't. And the military is one of them. I did not see a ton of support with the military, and I didn't see a ton of support with women. So I wanted to make a difference in that area. Started catering to women specifically. That's why my branding is pink.
Wow, that's great. So you pick women specifically. Is there a specific niche of women you pick, or is it just women that are entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so ultimately I settled down with female coaches and course creators. I am a natural educator, natural nurturer. I tend to gravitate towards roles where I'm in a leadership position, I'm guiding, I'm helping, I'm coaching. And so the idea of creating an online course definitely appealed to me when I was doing research, and I found out that this whole digital course world was a thing. But more so than that, I found that it wasn't just enough for me to create my own courses. I wanted to help other people do that too, because the kind of the secondary benefit of creating a course I found was that it frees up your time, right? And that was one thing that in Hawaii, when I was doing a whole journalism stint, it was a really cool opportunity because I was in control of, in a rare instance in the military, I was in control of my schedule. My boss really empowered me to go out and to seek opportunities and to find things. And you can't do that when you're bogged down with a million different things. And so I found, as I was getting into my business, I started getting just bogged down with all of these little things you have to do, the marketing, the sales, and the networking, the relationship building, and the offers, and the trading time for dollars, and the serving clients. And I found that when you sell courses, you can stop doing that as much. You still have to do some of it, but now you're freeing up your time. You're not trading time for dollars. When somebody buys a course from me, I provide one-on-one coaching because I choose to, not because I have to, because they're already getting something from me. They're already getting the course. And honestly, it's a more consistent thing than showing up for live coaching anyways. So I decided to focus on helping others create courses as well.
Wow, that's wonderful. And I've been in this genre a little while, so I know, like, if you have a course, most people who have a course, they also have coaching, which is a whole nother level, right? Typically, you have your course, which is at one price point, and usually the coaching's 10x of that, or some multiple, right? Because at that point, you are trading, you are getting that person's time, and so it tends to. And then they have it also typically, if it's in person, it's at a place that person wants to be. It's in or Las Vegas or somewhere someone wants to be. It's not in the snow-covered hills unless that's where that person wants to be. Because after they're done teaching the course, I'm going to tell you what they're going to do. They're going to go enjoy what's available, right? If it's skiing, they're going to go skiing. If it's boating, it's boating. So that's great. So someone who's just watching this, male or female, what advice would you give them? They're just starting out. They're getting online. They're doing some stuff. How would you tell them to be able to leverage themselves, to be able to create that first course and start bringing in be able to serve some people, but also start bringing in some income. It's kind of like a taboo thing, talk about the money, but we have to, because at the end of the day, you don't go into business to lose money, but most of us do at the beginning. But if, as Zig Ziglar says, if you give enough people what they want, you can have anything you want. So how do you create that value, one? And then two is, how do you create a course that people are really going to want?
Yeah. No, those are great questions. And it's something that I talk about with pretty much every course creator that comes across my doorstep. And so the creating the value, I would just say you don't have to create value, because if you know what you're doing and you're in a position where you have expertise in something, you already have that value. So you don't need to go out and create it. You just need to uncover it. And so part of that is messaging. So sitting down and getting really, really clear about the vision that you have and how you're going to serve your people. So when I work with my clients, they come and they say, "Hey, Brittany, I want to start with a course. I think a course is a good idea." Well, the first thing we look at is a course a good idea for them? Or is it not? Courses aren't the solution for everybody. And that's something that my time in the military really taught me, was like, one size does not fit all. Somebody needs to tell the military uniform developers that one size does not fit all. But it's creating the right business for you is not just about you. It's about exactly what you said. It's giving the people what they want, what they need. And so we look at, okay, are your ideal clients actually going to benefit from creating a course? And if so, what type of course? Are we looking at somebody who is really, really busy, really kind of just isn't the type of person that's going to sit down and do an 8-week intensive kind of thing? And of course, like, this is all online, right? So you have to be able to keep that person's attention for 8 weeks online. Or is it something that is really just better suited for like a workshop, 1 hour mini course type of thing? So the first thing we look at is just kind of like, what is that value that you can add to your ideal client that you already have? And then picking a structure. It's like going to a car lot and picking a car and going, okay, I have 3 children, all under the age of 6. Probably shouldn't buy the Corvette, but if somebody who's
your call,
like I don't know, but
they'd make nice hood ornaments, the kids.
Oh my goodness, yeah. It depends, right? And so that's why I say one size doesn't fit all, and I don't teach one method. We really have a discussion about what's the best fit for you and your ideal client, and what's the marriage of that.
And this is something else. And as an entrepreneur myself, I found the challenge is cracking the code and being able to ask people, because you get in a sales routine, you get in someone's sales funnel or whatever the case may be, and it's hard to ask the questions that you really need to honestly ask, right? Because a lot of times I ask people, so what, for that kind of coaching or this kind of thing, what should I expect to spend? And you get, well, it just depends. And I know sometimes that is the answer, but people need to know a range, right? I always tell people, listen, you should have. And then the other thing is, well, how much can you afford? Well, if I can afford $1, what are you going to do? Or if I can afford 10,000, the thing is like, I think a lot of these things that I want to go back a second before we get to that. I think that's key, is if you know more, let me say it like this. Probably going to edit this, something on my tongue. If you have one day more experience than the person that you're reaching out to, you have one day more experience. That is the value she's talking about. You may not be an expert to an expert, but you're an expert to the newbie. And if you just keep continuing to learn while you're teaching them, and I've found that when you're learning something, that's the best way to teach. Teaching's the best way to learn. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, but I got what you were saying, though. It is. And it's, that's why I was able to grow so rapidly in my business, was because I embodied that. We call it the 10% edge. That's the lingo, right? But it's that the minute that you know something, I'm the type of person, again, for me, it's all about service. And I know we're jumping into like a character trait question, which you're going to ask me, but for me, it's all about service. It's all about giving back and wanting to help. And one of the things that I did not see a ton of in the military, and I am just like to my core committed to in the civilian world, is bringing people up with me. So whenever I learn something, I want to turn around and I want to tell 10 more people, because if I know something and I can execute on it and I can make it happen, then that means that those 10 people can as well. So that 10% edge me stepping out in front of people, trying things that work, trying things that don't work, turning around and saying, hey guys, okay, so this worked, this didn't work. And I've been able to make a profitable online business by turning around and just giving that experience and stuff, because that means my going out and kind of like hacking my way through the entrepreneurial jungle ahead of people means that the people behind me that I'm teaching, that I'm coaching, don't have to do that.
Wow, that's amazing. And I I know, I guess it's a great place for us to transition is I had this discussion with another guest, and I think it fits you as well, that the only way to really lead is to serve. Like
Yes.
too often we get the idea that leadership is from the top to down. No, it's you're at the top, but you go to the bottom choosing to lift other people up. Because that's the only way you stay at the top.
Yes, no, it is. And I mean, and Chris, I went to the Naval Academy. Like there have been some guys who've taught me leadership who are like rubbing elbows with the president right now. I've studied it and I have the textbook knowledge of it, but being a young naval officer and standing in front of a group of 18 to 20 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds and being in charge of them, and should it happen, being in charge of whether they live or die. I mean, we don't talk about that ugly part of the military too, but that's a really uncomfortable position for a girl who's 23 to be in. And it's a really interesting leadership puzzle. And what I found, and this is the same approach I take into my coaching as well, is 90% of the women that I work with are older than me. They're 15 years my senior at least. And those women still look to me as an expert because of the way that I'm able to help guide them. And I do that not by lording over them like my college physics professor who was like, well, I have a PhD and you don't. Like, well, yeah, duh, dude, I'm in college, I'm learning. But, I by serving and by kind of meeting people where they're at and recognizing like the difference there, recognizing that I'm 23 and the difference between, the sailor standing in front of me and me is that I happen to be given this gift of leadership and this position. But it is a gift. And it's a gift that you honor by serving others and by continuing to show up and support them rather than taking it for granted and just kind of, sitting on your laurels.
Yeah, that is so key, and we need more people like that in the culture. Just it's rampant with people who think they've attained something and they deserve something and they're owed something versus I'm just here to help. But you
Yeah.
can tell the spirit of a person really by that whole thing. If you think you're owed something, you deserve something, or you should just get something, then you've come to the wrong place, I believe. But so how can people get in contact with you?
Yeah, so I love hanging out on social media. You can definitely hit up my website, which is loveyourlaunchacademy.com. Part of that whole, want to go back just a second though, to what you said about like deserving versus not deserving. It's funny because we talk about this in mindset, right? For course creators and mindset for anybody in the online space. You should approach things where you're dealing with other people from a very like service based kind of this humble place of origin. But when it comes to like achieving your own capability, I am like all there. Like I deserve the best, and no, but I own that, right? And I own wanting to create the best and create that reality for myself.
Let's
Um,
stay there for a minute because that's interesting. I like that. Let's just stay there for a minute because that's an interesting dynamic because you got to be able to cut a delineation between the two, right? I
mhm.
want the very best for myself. I want the very best for the people who get my course. I don't want to just give them a course just to say they bought my course and then they're not going to buy anything from me ever again because it was so cheesy and awful. It was worse than a $3 pizza down the street. It was made out of cardboard and cheese. You want them to come and say, man, I got so much value. Next time Brittany comes out with a course, I want another course. Maybe you just had that one signature course. If Brittany refers me to something, I'm going to take it. I'm going to consume that because she gives value, and I really believe that that's the way people are attracted to value. Um,
For sure.
people are hungry for value. Um, Talk about that for a minute. How do you so you don't go in the realm of I'm deserve this, and you stay service based how do you keep that frame? How do you keep that framed properly?
Yeah. So so while I was in the military, I was diagnosed with anxiety, depression, and PTSD. So like the trifecta. And so one of the things that was one of my core commitments to myself getting out was, in the military, we have a saying, ship, shipmate, self. You serve the ship first, and then you take care of your shipmates, and you are always last. And this idea of servant leadership becomes associated with this idea that you have to put yourself last because you have to put everything else first. And that is where my mental health issues came from, was just pouring from an empty cup over and over and over again, to the point where I just wore myself down to a level of poor health. And for some people it manifests mentally, for some people it manifests physically, with like physical, like autoimmune diseases that come about. It's very common. Talk to other veterans, you'll find something. But so when I was getting out, it was like, I cannot do this. That's one of the reasons why I chose to leave the military, was because I just couldn't keep functioning at that level. And so when I made the commitment that I was going to start my business, my mother is an entrepreneur. I grew up seeing the demands. There were nights where we would sleep on a couch in the back of her store because it was too late for us to actually drive all the way back to our house and turn around and come all the way back for school the next day. So it was crazy stuff. And I saw the long hours. So I was definitely not, disillusioned to the demands of an entrepreneurial lifestyle. But my core commitment to myself was that I'm doing this so that I can create a life that is truly going to be healthy for me. Healthy in the sense of just spiritual contentment, but then also in terms of just getting my physical and my mental health under control as well. So that's a non-negotiable for me. I don't take on clients that I don't vibe with. I don't take on clients that we have differing value systems. That's one of the things that I talk about. And I also don't take on clients that, like, we have a conversation, right? It's a fitting call. I don't just like allow somebody to sign up willy-nilly, right? Because everything is, it has to be a good fit. The fact of the matter is that supports that commitment to serve. Because if I'm taking care of myself, and this was a complete 180 from my mentality in the military, if I'm taking care of myself, I'm in a better position to continue to serve others. So that non-negotiable for me of taking care of myself and making sure that I'm doing the right things for myself means that I have more energy, more focus, more clarity to be able to show up and to deliver ridiculous value and results for the clients that I do serve. And yeah, go ahead.
Well, that's a great place for us to just continue the conversation and to say, like, for example, I put an ad out for people to be on the podcast, and this person said, "Well, I want to know your numbers." I said, "Okay, you're not here to serve; you're here to take." uh,
What's in it for me? What's the reach? How many people are you?
I need, and then I said, "Well, in the next 100 days, we're going to grow our podcast by 250%. Well, I need you to quantify that." I'm like, "Oh, you're definitely not the person who needs to be on my podcast. And I remember being in a church meeting, and they were talking about a story that happened where this couple was in leadership, and the husband had a little bit higher position than the wife, but the wife would keep showing up for meetings that the husband was supposed to be at, and they both were there. And finally, they said, "Sir, can you get your wife to leave? She's not supposed to be in this meeting because we're talking about some sensitive subjects." And it didn't matter if it was church or a business meeting. She didn't belong there. She wasn't part of that group. And the roles could have been reversed, and the result would have been the same. And finally, they couldn't get her to leave, so they asked him to leave too, causing him a demotion in the process. And I just want to tell people is don't try. It's not always about the money. I'm going to tell you, the whole process is there's plenty for everyone. If Britney's success, if she makes more success because she was on my podcast and I don't get success right away, it's okay, because sooner or later it's going to come back around my way.
Yes.
And if Britney has a little less success while she's on my podcast and I get success, that's okay, because it's coming her way. Just think about it this. Every time you're sowing a seed, there's a story that says there was a sower who went out to sow and he planted seed. As long as you keep planting seeds, you'll always have a harvest that's on its way. The problem is we plant seeds and we don't like the results, but you planted some bad seed 6 months ago. and you're now getting that harvest. You may not like your current harvest, but keep planting good seed and you'll get a good harvest.
Yeah. I got to tell you, every single time that I am a yes person, I'm a people pleaser, for sure. And I really like helping. I think that's where it comes from, but to almost kind of a, like I should say no more often. And so, uh, in, the entrepreneurial world is like a harsh world. Like it can be as warm and fuzzy as you want it to be. It can be very, very harsh as well. And there have been a few times where I have said yes to things I should have said no to. And I can tell you that after, burning my hand in the fire a few too many times, because I have like a jacket full of patches from the School of Hard Knocks. But that after that, I'm like, okay, all right, I got it. Like I will say no more often. And the times that I say no, and I refrain are moments when it usually comes back to me at least threefold. My mom has been saying,
say that again, because I don't think people really caught that.
yeah. So the times that I've said no and I've held my boundaries are the times when that usually ends up coming back in a positive way about threefold. And that's like an average, but it really is true. When I say no to things, I am making room for the real yeses in my life, the F yeses, like the heck yes.
Let me put it like this: is like, do you know the last thing that when they purify gold, what's the last thing that comes out of gold when they're purifying it?
It's like not good stuff, right?
No, the dross is the first thing to come off.
Okay.
Silver is the last thing to come out of gold when they're finished purifying it. It's a good thing. It's a great thing. But in where I come from, we say it's not a God thing, right? It's you got a good thing. And the hardest thing to discern is a good thing and a God thing, right? So they're both similarly spelled. At the end of the day, it's hard to discern. And so the thing is, when you say no to something, and see, this is the other thing, Brittany, that the other side of the fence, if you would have said yes, the heartache, the headache, the money ache, and the things that would cost you in the long run versus the threefold increase, there's probably a 10x increase.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm trying to say? Is there's a 10x difference because I took a course for a year, and this guy said there are some D-level customers you have. You need to either upgrade them or get them to someone else who fits them more appropriately, because they always want more for less money. It's a headache, and you don't need them. There's someone who fits them, right?
Yeah.
So
no, it's my husband is definitely the type to he's a software developer. He's a very analytical mind and he overthinks things a lot. But we were talking, one night at dinner. And and I was kind of this was one of those decisions that I should have said no to, and I said yes. And I'm like, man, like I just can't. Like I'm all bent out of shape because this client is just like, I should have said no. And he goes, you realize that the time that you're spending right now complaining about this and it's eating up your focus, right? Is time that you could have been spent creating your course or serving your client or
just spend time with your husband.
Yeah,
God forbid that happen.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's all stuff that, it's an opportunity loss, right? And so when things happen like that, like I didn't really hold my boundaries, my value system to, it's taking away. It's not just a bad mistake there, but it's an opportunity loss for something good somewhere else. And that, I have long since stopped quantifying success with dollar signs. I like money, don't get me wrong. But to me, a client who comes in and says, hey, I'm loving my launch right now. Like that to me is worth gold, right? Like, cause that means I did my job. But the same goes for, anything, right? Like if somebody achieves something and it was a successful thing, like, yes, we won, it's good. But if it's just like it's this negativity and it just kind of breeds and spirals, and nobody likes that.
And the thing is, those people just seem to like, they. I'm reminded of something that said that greed has two daughters: need and need more, want and want more. It's never enough, right? When you get that sick customer, I call it the sick customer because they're sick. Whatever you give them, they can't get enough with your time, money, energy. They just want more, and they're sucking it all up. So, hey, listen, when you get someone like that, how do you I call it download. How do you download them?
Oh my God. So I would not proclaim to be an expert in this at all. It's definitely something that I'm still learning and navigating. It's funny because I have no problem walking into a room full of men 15, 20 years older than me and like putting on my bossy pants. But when it comes to working one-on-one with a client who, I can see what they're going through and I can see their struggles. I do find it a little challenging. And I think many entrepreneurs do, and we don't talk about this a ton, is how do you kind of like gently steer someone in the right direction without completely crushing their soul? And I found that redirection is a really great tool. So one of the things that I learned in my time leading in the military was if you come up with a problem, then you should always present a solution along with it. Huge pet peeve of mine, by the way, when people don't do this. But so, if it's like, hey, okay, this is happening, this is wrong, you should be presenting some sort of solution too. And so I recently, not recently, but it was a couple months ago, I had a client who came up to me and she was looking for some support. I wasn't really vibing with it. I don't think that we would have really worked well together. And so what I did was I was like, okay, well, what is it that she actually needs? Because I'm perfectly capable of pointing that out and identifying that with her. And then I found a resource that really was going to serve her. And so instead of saying, sorry about you, can't help you buy, I was like, you know what? Honestly, I would much rather you spend your money here because I truly believe that it's going to serve you better. If you're committed to investment and personal development and growing your business, this is a better expense for you. And that conversation went swimmingly because she was like, oh my God, thank you so much. I'm going to go check that thing out. She ended up enrolling in the program and is loving it. And I'm seeing her blossom and I'm seeing her business really bloom as a result of it. But I was able to alleviate an awkward conversation, right? By just simply redirecting, going, oh, go over there in like a very polite and constructive way.
There was a client that I had, and he was just too much. And I just said, hey, here's your money back. I'm not I can't provide the solution you're looking for. I don't know what solution that you're actually looking for. I thought you were looking for this, but this program is not what you're looking for. And at the end of the day is sometimes being like, I'm enough for me. I have enough value. I have enough whatever, but I have enough for the people I'm called to help and serve. But you might not be one of those people. And being able to say that and say it with confidence and say, listen, I've tried to help you. And this wasn't the first conversation we had. This person was really needy. And I finally said, I'm trying to help you, but I just can't. There's not enough hours in the day, and there's not enough. And for me, keep the course, keep what I taught you. It's fine, but here's your money back. I've tried to help you. All my resources are spent. And I don't know about referring you to someone else because it deals with mindset, really, Brittany. Yeah. When you're dealing with it, if you have someone who's just taking and sucking you dry, sometimes it's best just to remove the leech before it kills you.
Well, and that goes back to that non-negotiable that I was talking about earlier is you can't pour from an empty cup. And that's something that I learned in the military, I lost my job, I lost my promotion, and I lost my marriage because I was constantly overextending myself and overexerting for, I hate to say that the military was the leech, but in this case, my job and my commitment to that was, I think, a little misplaced. I'm very happy that what I did and how I served, and I'm very thankful for my time in, but I do think that I overextended myself. I do think that I had some boundary issues. And I had to learn that the hard way, trial by fire. And so now it's a non-negotiable. If there's somebody who I just know in my gut, part of this is being self-aware and listening to your intuition too. But if there's somebody that I know, I'm just like, there's a lot of red flags here. And this just isn't, like one example is I don't work with multi-level marketing and network marketers. There are coaches out there that support those types of individuals. I don't. And occasionally I do get somebody who's interested, and usually the red flag for me is that they don't tell me that they're in an MLM or network marketing business until the very, very end. And I'm like, yeah, I can tell that you're hiding something, you're holding something away, that there's a stigma around this. That's not the type of thing that I like to support and I like to do business with. And it's a lot easier to say no now than it was 2 years ago when I was starting to vet those types of clients.
So tell people about what you do and what you offer.
Yeah. So like I said earlier, I'm a course coach. I help women build and launch digital courses. I do that in a couple different ways. I have my own set of courses. I love recording. I love Looms. I love talking. So I love creating courses, but I also really like connecting with people. And I find that with the digital course, a lot of times that human element is missing. And for me, again, it's all about service. It's all about showing up and meeting somebody where they're at. And I can do it pretty well with the digital course, but I can't anticipate everything. So I created the series of workshops. And so these workshops are, if you've ever heard of a VIP day, this is like the affordable VIP day. So it's specifically geared for a type of focus. So we're dealing with your sales funnel, we're dealing with whatever it is, because I typically deal with support women who are go-getters. They're DIYers. They don't want to just hire somebody and write a blank check and have them run their business. And so we sit down and we do these workshops, and I do it with you. You get a course coach sitting down there, running through and creating your offer with you so that you have that live support as needed. And I have a number of different types of workshops, and that's my favorite way to connect and serve with people because I can get you the fastest, quickest, most effective results. I think it's just a win-win-win all around.
Wow. What great value. So tell the people where they can find you.
Yes. Sorry, I forgot about that one. So you can find me. I love hanging out on Facebook. My Facebook, you can just send me a friend request, or you can hit me up on Instagram at the Course Creation Coach. And you also get to see on Instagram all the beautiful reels of my dogs, cats, ducks, and chickens.
Let me get those right. Dogs, cats,
ducks
and chickens.
Yes. I live on a mini farm.
Cool. So what's your favorite quote?
All right. So I am like a total nerd. I play video games. I read sci-fi novels. And so I have to go with the Star Wars quote. My favorite is by Yoda. Do or do not, there is no try. There's so many times that I'm going to try doing this. I'm going to try doing this. And I firmly believe that commitment is key. You either do or you do not.
I like that. To go with that, I like the guy, I forget his name, Shia LaBeouf. Just do it.
Yes. Yeah, just pull a Nike and just do it. I love it.
That video is something else. I love it. So listen, I want to thank Britney for being my guest, and I want to thank you all for watching. Please like, subscribe, download. If you're on YouTube, please hit the notification button and the subscribe button. Thank you so much. Have a great day.